Have you ever stopped to wonder what actually happens inside the mind of a deep thinker? Psychology has started to uncover why the people with the most layered, fascinating inner worlds often feel the most isolated. You've seen them before. The one who grows quiet at parties, the friend who keeps asking why until everyone else gets uncomfortable, the colleague who takes forever to decide because they're weighing possibilities no one else even considered. They aren't trying to be difficult, and they're not slow. Their brains genuinely function differently. While most people rely heavily on what psychologists call System 1 thinking, fast, automatic, intuitive responses that help us move quickly through daily life, deep thinkers lean towards System 2 processing. That's the slower, more deliberate, analytical mode, driven largely by the prefrontal cortex, the brain's control center. Instead of reacting, they evaluate. Instead of skimming, they dissect. Brain imaging studies reveal something even more intriguing. When deep thinkers are technically at rest, their default mode network, the system associated with self-reflection, imagination, and internal simulation, remains highly active. For many people, this network switches on during boredom or mind-wandering. For deep thinkers, it rarely goes quiet. Their minds are constantly connecting distant ideas, spotting hidden patterns, linking concepts that seem unrelated on the surface. This heightened internal activity is associated with creativity and novel problem-solving, but it comes at a cost that most people never see. One of the biggest struggles is the relentless loop of overanalysis. Deep thinkers don't just consider a situation, they rotate it mentally, examine it from every angle, question their conclusions, and then question the questions. A casual comment from someone else can trigger hours of reflection. A simple decision can spiral into evaluating long-term consequences, ethical implications, and subtle risks. Research on rumination and analysis paralysis shows that this level of cognitive depth can make even small choices feel heavy. It's not indecision, it's an unwillingness to act without clarity. Then there's the social disconnect. Deep thinkers crave conversations with substance, yet most social spaces revolve around light topics and quick exchanges. When everyone else is laughing about trends or weekend plans, the deep thinker wants to unpack consciousness, morality, ambition, or the meaning behind human behavior. This mismatch creates chronic feelings of being misunderstood. It's not superiority, and it's not pretension. It's like speaking in layers when everyone else is speaking in headlines. They're also often labeled absent-minded, but research suggests that frequent mind-wandering and internal absorption correlate with higher creativity and intelligence. When a deep thinker zones out mid-conversation, it's rarely disinterest. Their brain has simply followed a thread of thought into a complex internal landscape. Everyday details can slip through the cracks because cognitive bandwidth is allocated to abstract processing, and that constant processing is exhausting. Neuroscience shows that analytical reasoning and creative integration demand significant metabolic energy. Deep thinkers aren't casually strolling through mental tasks. They're running cognitive marathons. By the end of the day, they may feel depleted in ways that are difficult to explain to someone who operates more automatically. There's also an emotional weight that comes with heightened awareness. Deep thinkers tend to perceive systemic problems, inequality, injustice, environmental decline, with painful clarity. While others compartmentalize and move on, they internalize. Seeing the bigger picture makes it harder to ignore the implications. This can create a quiet sense of helplessness, a tension between understanding complexity and lacking the power to fix it. Relationships become complicated as well. Because they value authenticity and depth, they struggle to settle for shallow bonds. They know what real intellectual and emotional intimacy feels like, so surface-level interaction feels hollow. Yet holding out for profound understanding often means spending long stretches alone, caught between craving connection and refusing to dilute it. What's important to understand is that deep thinking isn't simply about high intelligence, it's about unique neural connectivity. Studies on highly creative individuals show more flexible and less conventional patterns of communication between brain regions. Their minds bypass typical pathways and form distant associations more quickly. That's why a deep thinker can connect philosophy to neuroscience to a personal memory in a single mental leap. Their executive control network, creative centers, and default mode network interact in ways that generate insight, but also tension. The very wiring that allows profound reflection also increases vulnerability to rumination, isolation, and fatigue. So if you're someone who feels exhausted by your own thoughts, psychology offers reassurance. Your mental intensity isn't a defect. The loneliness can be real, but it isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. You simply operate at a depth that isn't common. The world advances because of people who question assumptions, detect patterns others overlook, and refuse to accept surface-level explanations. Yes, it can be isolating. Yes, it can be draining, but your depth is not something to shrink. The real goal isn't to silence your mind. It is to find the rare individuals who can dive just as deep and meet you there.